Hello my amazing people, Hamza here and welcome back to the channel. I'm very excited to bring you this tutorial where I'm going to show you several ways you can play along with tables in your Elementor website. And I'm going to show you about 4 ways on how you can use tables in Elementor. One will include how you can actually use custom data tables. They'll have images, links, icons, and even lottie animations. Second, I'm going to show you how you can actually work with CSV imported tables into your Elementor website. On top of that, I'll show you how you can use links and images within your imported CSV tables into Elementor. And lastly, I'll show you how you can actually use remote files like from Google Sheets to import your tables into your Elementor website. And once you make an update in your Google Sheets, those updates will be reflected in Elementor. On top of that, I'll show you how you can style up literally everything in these tables and how you can actually add links in your custom tables or even your imported tables from a CSV or from your Google Sheet. In case this is the tutorial you've been waiting for, please don't forget to hit the like button and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And please make sure that you check out the links in the description box below for everything that I've mentioned in this tutorial. Now let's jump straight into the video and get started. And in this tutorial, I want to show you 4 ways on how you can actually add tables in your Elementor website. And the number 1 way is by adding custom rows and custom columns with links, images, and lottie animations. These are customly added rows and columns, and then there are lottie animations. But as well, you can use icons or images, just like this is an image, this is an image, this is an image, and this is an icon. And you can still add links, just like you see this is a link and this is a link. When I click on this link, it takes me straight to another page, which is probably a page that you would have linked up for your visitor or for your website visitor to access once they click on any of those links. You can of course add filters, like if I want to search for software, anything to do with software, of course it's only one lead that is showing up or one result showing up. And in case I want to search for a figure that has anything to do with 7, 8, of course that is what will show up. On the other hand, you can show records. You can say I want to show 50 records, 100 records, or 3 records. Now in this case we have a few records, that's why it is only showing 1 to 3. But in case you have over 100 records, it will also give you an option over here to display. On the other hand, we are going to also create a table that we import from a CSV. A CSV stands for comma separated values, and this means that we can simply just create our table in a notepad or a text editor or export it from one of the softwares like Excel, and then we can export it as a CSV, then have it imported in our Elementor website, and we have it just like this. And as well, we can filter this either using digits, or we can use names. We can also limit the number of rows that show up on a single page, just like over here there are only I think 7. We can make them 10, we can make them 50, and then we enable the pagination so that someone is able to navigate through the data. Okay, so that is one of the examples of an imported table from a CSV. On the other hand, you can also import a CSV with images and links. And I'm going to show you exactly in this tutorial how you can add images in your CSV file and also make them linkable, or how you can add links in your CSV imported table into your Elementor website. And of course, we can customize the headers, the columns, and a lot more. So if you actually wanted to ever import tables using a CSV with images and links, well, this is the section that you'll enjoy. Now the 4th section, I'm going to show you how we can actually pull results from a Google Sheet. So this is a table that is in our Google Sheets, which is online. So what I simply just had to do was to pull that table or the data into our Elementor website, and in any case I make any changes over here, those changes will be reflected on this table. This is one of the requested features according to premium add-ons, where most users just simply wanted to pull up their data from Excel and simply be displayed into their Elementor website. And I will also show you how you can customize everything over right here. The one main plugin that you need is a Premium Add-ons Pro. And to use the Premium Add-ons Pro version, you should also have Premium Add-ons, the free version, installed on your website. And once those two are installed, obviously I expect you to have Elementor for your website. you don't necessarily need Elementor Pro, you just simply need Elementor. Once premium add-ons for Elementor Pro is installed, you'll have this menu item. Simply click over there. We are going to come over here to widgets, and under widgets we are going to look up for the table widget. It's down below here, and you realize it is coming only in the Pro version, so meaning that obviously you should have the Pro version or premium add-ons for Elementor. Simply activate it. In most cases, if you're going to use premium add-ons for Elementor only for the table widget, you can simply switch off all the other widgets and only enable the table widget, so that you don't cause a lot of bloat or code running at the back of your website, of which you actually don't need. So in this case, I'm going to simply enable the table widget, and then you can simply save changes. Anyway, if that's not the case and you also want to check out other widgets from premium add-ons for Elementor, you can simply enable all of them, and you're good to go. The next thing we're going to do is simply open up any page with Elementor where we want to add our tables. And in this case, I already have my page opened up with Elementor, and this is how it looks currently, having all my tables listed here. So to get started, we're going to start with the first option where we can add custom rows, custom columns, and images, including links. I'm going to simply duplicate this section. Then I simply delete the table that I had already created. I'll come over here to the widgets and then search for the table widget. And I have this option over here that says premium table. I'll simply drag it to my canvas. Okay, there I am. Next, what I'm going to do is now to simply add this data over here, and to use the custom data rows and columns. And under the header, you realize that our table, in the header, it had name, position, company, office, age, and salary. We're going to simply select our table widget, and then we're going to come over here to data and select custom. Once you select custom, then you have the option to set the header. This is what the header looks like currently, so we can just add our heading titles. So I'll start by name, position, company, I add another item, office, I'll add another item, age, and I can simply just decide to duplicate this item and I rename it salary. Okay, so now we have our heading or our header for the table. Now what we are going to do is now to add our data accordingly. So in the first step, we have this name. We're going to close up our header, and we're going to come to the body, and under the body we already have default columns and default rows. I'm going to delete these so that you simply get an idea on how everything is created from the word go. So I'll say add an item, and I want this to be a row. First of all, we have to create a row, so it's going to be a row. So the first cell is going to be a body, and it's going to have the text, which is going to be the name, because here we should have a name. We can choose an icon type for that name. In this case, it's going to be an image or a custom image. When you look over here on our table, you realize that we use an image, which is over here. So I'm going to simply just come, and then I'll upload an image. I have already 3 images uploaded. I'll simply select the image I want to use for that cell, and there I go. Add another cell, and this is going to be also under the body, and it will automatically take me to the position section. Text is personal lead. This is the company logo in this case. In the next cell, we add an item. We're just simply going to use an image, so I'll simply just come and upload an image, and that image is the logo for the company where that guy works. Then the office is actually Edinburgh. I'll just come over here, then I'll add another item, and then I'll say the text is Edinburgh. And then his age, it can be any age, so you can just say maybe he is 39. So the salary earns, by adding another item, we're going to say he earns that amount of monies. Okay, so now we are done with the first row and the first item in our table. So what do we do to create other rows for our table? We're going to simply just redo the same thing. So by coming over here, add an item, and in this case it's going to be a row. and we're going to add another item now, and that item is going to be another person from this company. So I'll add their image for that person, and next is obviously his position and the logo of the company where he works. So I'll just come over here, add an item, add his position, and then the logo for the company where he works. And in this case, it is actually a lottie animation. I don't know if it's very visible, but it's a lottie animation. So I'll just come back over here, and under this cell, we are simply just going to come and say lottie animation for the icon type. Remember, we're not typing any text, and here it is requesting us to add a URL for the JSON file to the animation. And now that takes us to the lottie animation website, where we can simply grab our lotties. So at the moment I have my lottie animation showing up here. I'll just simply open up this lottie animation and I'll copy up the link. Come here to my dashboard, then I'll paste my link, and there I go. I can increase on the size of the lottie by simply making it larger. I can make it to be aligned in the center, at the right, or at the left. Prefer to leave it at the left. I can link it to some other thing. For example, if this company for Darius is maybe say google.com, you can link it to the company website. Just make sure that once you are actually adding the links over here, type the whole URL https://www.google.com. And in the case whereby you have an internal page that you want to simply link to, is you can simply just come to that cell and just simply click over here on the link type and say existing page, and then you can select a page from that drop down. For example, if I select this and I say update, when I come now to my table and I click on that link, it will automatically take me to that page. So when I come here to the preview page, if now I click on my lottie, it should take me to an existing page on my website currently, and boom, here I go. So I'll simply add another item, and this is going to be the company office where this person works in Kampala, or that's where his company office is. His age is 25, I think, or that's what the table says. And I'll add a last item which goes under the salary. He makes that much money. We have now 2 rows. The next thing we can do is simply replicate all of them. The next thing we're going to do is now to try to style up our table. Simply click on the icon of the table widget, and you're going to come down here to the advanced option and enable the sorting feature, which are now these icons shown over here. And then you can also enable sorting this table on mobile, in case obviously if it's a longer table with more data, you would love to have this option enabled, especially for mobile users. And we can as well add a search option for this table, and you can customize what appears over right here. So you can say search names, age, or salary. So you can decide to show records in a drop down. That's how I could manage to enable this feature here and the feature right over here. Maybe you want to kind of customize how this search form looks like over here. You can do that over here in the style, and you can simply come over here to the search option, and you can remove the border radius completely, or you can add it and you have something of that sort. The same even for the records option. You can simply just say remove the border radius, or you can make it rounded. The next thing that you can do is obviously make sure that your headers stand out. So what we can do is come here to the header or to the head, and we can decide to choose a color for the whole header. In this case, we're going to make it to be white. For the background, we're going to make it background type, it's going to be white completely. And also for the even values, so come here to the background, under even values, background type, I'll choose it to be white. And that's how we achieve a white header for a table. Then the other thing is, how can we make different colors or make changes for our alternating rows. So we can just simply now come down below here to the rows. You can see the text color over here we used white. Simply come back here, change the text color to white. Simply just turn it to white. Even for the even figures, it's going to be text color white. Now we're going to come back here and then change the background color for this. So we're going to come to background color and we're going to choose our purple, and we're going to give it an opacity, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. I'll come back here to the even values, and then I'm going to come down below here to the background, and I'm going to choose it also to be our purple but even more lighter. So select the color once again. Now regardless of how many rows you have in your table, they'll keep alternating this color, just like you saw over right here. That's how you could actually add custom data rows and columns, including links, images, and lottie files. So how does that look like on the mobile device? We can do a little bit of customizations. For example, for our title, you can come over here and go to the style, typography, and we can reduce on the size of the header. Okay, now for our table widget, we simply select the widget of the table and then come down below here to content, and you're going to come to display options, and you're going to make sure that you enable the responsive table. So when I say enable responsive table, you realize that now we have this horizontal scroll bar showing up and our table data is very visible, and you can simply go through the whole data. Under advanced, when I enable the sorting feature on mobile, then you have the option actually to sort this table. We can as well play around with the padding both on the left and the right to make sure that our table looks way more visible, and we can decide to style up some of these features. For example, on a mobile style, come to the search. I'm going to preview that page on the mobile. I'll come over here, I'll inspect our table, and opens up here in the mobile browser, and there we go. Obviously, if you're on a mobile device, you'll be able to scroll through your table using the horizontal scroll bar over right here. So for our very first table, we have looked into adding images, adding links to our table, actually adding also the table data, adding the sort and filter options. So how about if you want to use an icon in your table, for example this icon over here, and you want it to show up in your table? So what you simply just have to do is obviously come back here to your table, select the table widget, and I'm going to come down below here and I'll add another table row. So under the table row, I'll add my cells. So I'll start by adding the name of the person, and then I can add an icon for that specific person. So for example, I'll come over here, I'll select the icon type to be font awesome, and I have the possibility to select an icon, and that icon was user MD, I think. So shows up here, and there I go. So I simply just have to play around with the size of the icon. Like for these other rows or cells, I can as well add a link over here, and I can link it up to any other page that I want, like I've shown you earlier in this video. The next thing you have to do is obviously add the other table data by coming back here to the body, and you realize that there is actually too much space between these two. So I can simply come back here to the first cell of the person, and I can add an icon spacing. So you see, I can still play around with that. Like I told you earlier, that the more rows you're going to keep adding on this table, they'll keep alternating the color, because that's what we said for the odd and the even color for the rows of this table. Now once I update, then I'm good to go. I'll have my table displayed or showing up on my Elementor website, and in a nutshell, that's how you can create the first version of the table using the data rows and columns. And you are able to add links, you are able to add images, and even adding lottie files, just like I have shown you. So now let's jump into another section of this video of how we can actually import data tables that are imported from a CSV file. So to do that, we are going to add another section just below here. So I'll simply just duplicate this, and I'm going to delete this table. I can do that using the navigator, so by simply coming over here and I delete the table. Now I'm going to come over here to my widgets area and I'll search for table, and once it shows up over here with the PA icon or logo, I just simply drag to my work area, and here I am. Right over here you have your table widget selected, and what we're going to do is come over here to the data type and we'll choose CSV file. And now we are provided options to upload our CSV file. So the first thing we're going to do is to make sure you select the file upload, and the data separator should be a comma. Now this is the most important point in this section. Before you actually upload your CSV file, you should have it already created. Now I have it here created. When I open it up with, let me say, Excel, you realize that I have my table just here. The first row is actually the header row, and the other is basically the data. Now some things you have to note is that you should make sure that in the salary figures you don't have a comma added. For example, if you wanted to make this to be the 1000 separator, you would have added a comma just like that. But if you have it added, it's going to add another column in your imported table in Elementor, because the data separator is our comma. Now if you have a comma in the figures over here, it's going to use it as a separation for a new column. Once that is already figured out, how do you save your CSV file? If your table is created, like for example in Excel, what you have to do is simply come over here to File, and you're going to come and say Save As, and you're going to make sure that you select the comma separated values standing for CSV. Once you have that selected, then you are going to simply save the table. I already have it saved on my computer, and I've already uploaded it over here. So it is data table 13. Now what I'm going to do is simply add or insert the media, and now I have inserted this table into my table widget. You realize that these are the same details: name, position, age, and salary. Make sure that if your website is HTTP or HTTPS, that URL should be matching the same as for the file uploaded. Anyway, once that is done, now we have our table in here. So some things now to note is that you can choose to render the first row as the header, which is already selected, which is this over here. Next, what we're going to do is simply come over here to the display options, and we can choose to display our table using a fixed layout or an auto layout. I prefer to use the auto layout, but in case you want to use a fixed width, you can simply say fixed width, and then you can determine the width of your table. I'll leave it to be using the auto layout. And then there is something called responsive. This responsive option enables you to turn your table to be responsive when viewed on a smaller device. For example, it will add a horizontal navigation down below here once someone is viewing your table on a smaller device. You see, we now have a horizontal scroll for our table. And then there is also the table alignment option, whereby you can choose to align your table to either sides of the section. Now down to the advanced options, we can add a search bar. Basically where someone can simply search through your table. We can at the same time enable pagination for our table. So on adding pagination, automatically we are given the option for showing rows per page, and over here by default it is 5 rows. I can make it 7, just like I did for our very first table. Now we can go and look into the styling options to make our table look more beautiful, just like this over here. But before we go into that, I want you to notice that for the CSV imported tables, we have lesser options. Like for example, we don't have the sort features and also the records feature. To begin off with styling, we're going to start with our header. So what I'm going to do is come over here and start with our header. The color is actually going to be white. And on hover is going to be the secondary color. And on background color is going to be our purple. Now on even it's going to be the same. Text color is going to be white, and our text on hover and the background is going to be our purple. Then what we're going to do next is changing the font face of our header. So it's simply coming back here to the typography, short stack. Next, now we're going to make some changes on our texts. We are going to close over the header, then come to the rows, and we are going to obviously change the text color to white. Be just like this, white, and then the even color is also going to be white. Now let's go straight onto the background. So the background is going to be a lighter purple. So by coming over here, selecting the color, and we're going to change its opacity. So we change the opacity by selecting the color option or the custom color option, and then slide the knob over here to make it a little bit lighter. Now let's go straight to the odd option. Come to background, select our background type, come back here to the background type, and then we're going to change the custom color option and then change further. We can change the width of our table by selecting the table widget, coming to content, and we're going to come to display option. The table layout, we are going to say fixed, and we're going to make it, let me say 65. Yeah, looks pretty much more the same like this. Now let's head down here and then make changes to our styling. For the pagination, come back to style. So under pagination, the normal background, it should be white, and then the color is going to be our orange. Hover color, background will change to orange, and the color is going to be white. And the active color, we're going to use a different background, and we'll use a color of white. That is for the icon. We can now simply do an update, and we preview our page. Here we go. This was our first table, and this is our second table. You see we have our search anything, and we have our header. We can navigate to other rows by simply clicking on the number, and you see that the hover colors have basically changed to what we have set up. We can remove the rounded borders over here by coming back to the widget, come to the search option, so which is over here, search option, and we're going to come to the border radius, and we simply just make it complete 0. Now you see that it has sharp endings. So when I update, now when you look at the borders of our search bar, they look more sharp than how they were before. So anyway, that's it all for the custom table import from a CSV. Now let's go into the next section where we're going to import a CSV table having images and also links. First thing I'm going to do is duplicate this section. I'm going to delete this table, and I'll come over here, grab my table widget, and drag it over here. And I'm going to simply just come over here to the data type, choose a CSV file, and I'll upload a CSV file. The data separator is a comma. Now here where it gets sweet, we are going to import our table. It will have images and it will have links. So how do we do that? First thing is you simply have to have your CSV file. So I'll open up over here. My CSV file is over here. I'll open it up with Excel, and I want you to look at how it looks like currently. So I'll expand these columns. So we basically have a normal table, a table with names, dates, and particulars, probably what they are saving, and probably some balance if someone saves more money, so they can carry forward some balance, and then here the total amount that is saved. This is basically like a monthly savings table, but we want to show images and probably links to another website or those people's websites or their blogs or platforms they use. This is where it gets interesting. So under here I'm going to add a new row, and that row, let me say, is for a person called Hamza. Okay, now we are going to add an image for Hamza that is going to appear in our table, and to do that we're going to get our image URL. And to pick our image URL, you simply have to come back to your WordPress website. It should be an uploaded image. So I'll copy this URL. So after picking up your image URL, then you are going to have to use the HTML tag for linking up images. And how do you do that? To explain how that looks like, now for example, here is my link to the image. I have to add the image HTML tag, img image source, and equal to, then https / my image URL, and then we're going to add the alt text, and that alt text is basically the name of that person. So this is Hamza, and then I'm going to close it up. Then I'll add the HTML anchor tag and ref equal to their website, which is that website.com. So mine is https / www.gotechug.com, and then I'll add the name to display, and then I close my anchor tag. I'll just copy my link and I'll paste it over right here, and then I'm good to go. So next thing I'm going to do is simply add the date, 4th of August 2016, and maybe they saved 20,000. So I have over here my data from the different people who are saving and the dates they save, and also the totals over here. Again, make sure that you don't have comma separators in these digits or even quotations. Now what I have to do is very simple. It's simply come over here to File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as a comma separated value, and I'll name this to be table 20, and I saved my downloads folder. Alternatively, you can still edit this same table using the text editor. Now when you open up this in the text edit, you realize that I have these commas over here. They are basically representing new columns, so I'm not interested in this. For these commas, they are needed simply because this is a different column, another column, but they are empty columns. As you see over here, we have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns that are empty for the total row. You can simply also save changes over here. We're going to simply come over here to our table, and we are going to simply import another table. We'll select our file from the downloads, which is table 20. Okay, good. Insert the table. We have our table with images and links. So this is an image, an image, an image, and the last image that we added, and it is also linked up to the website of that person or the blog, the same just like for these other items in our table. Now we can do a little bit of more styling for our table. So the text color could be white, and we make the background to be our purple color. So by coming over here, we select that. The same for the even text color, white, and the background is going to be our purple. We can play around with the column styling just like you see we did here. So I'm going to come over here to the column option, and we are going to make changes to our odd color. So background color is going to be, let me say, our primary color, but we are going to make it a little bit more transparent. Then we are going to come over here to the even table column, even background type, our color, and then we make it a little bit also more transparent. You can as well do some changes to the column text color. We just simply turn it to white, even for the even, for the even color, and there we are. Simply update. We can preview our table. Okay, here we are. Our table shows up. We have our names, they are linked up, and they also have images, and at the same time we have our dates and all the other column or row information. So I think this answers one of the most questions that have been coming in. How can you add links to imported CSV files? Now, for example, if you want to add a link to this specific raw data, obviously you're going to come back to your text editor or to your Excel and make sure that you add the HTML link over right to this figure, just like I showed you while we're adding one for this raw data or for this item. Now let's head straight into our next section, whereby we can pull information from our Google Sheets. According to premium add-ons for Elementor, one of the most requested feature was to be able to pull data from Google Sheets into your tables that you created up in Elementor or the Elementor tables widget. Now in this section, that's what I'm going to show you. We are going to pull this data from our Google Excel sheet or the Google Sheets without having to download the CSV and then importing it into our Elementor website. We're simply just going to link it up into our tables widget and we're good to go. I'll start off by duplicating this section. So I'll simply just duplicate and I'll simply delete this table widget, and then I'll just simply come over here, search for a table, drag it here, and I'll say CSV file, but it's going to be this time around a remote file. The data separator is a comma and the file URL is now what we have to pick up. I'm going to add another result over here, so I'll say insert above. I'll add one person called Hamza. Wait, I don't want this to be bold. Maybe they saved at that date and they saved that amount of money. Make sure that there are no comma separators over here, otherwise it will create a new column. For demo purposes, I'll just leave it at that. Then what I'm going to do to get the URL to link up into our table, we're going to come over here to file and we're going to say publish to web, and then over here we're going to select the entire document and it's going to be a comma separated value type of file, and then you're going to simply now get this URL, copy that URL, and over here there is something called automatically republish when changes are made. This means that if you make changes to this table, it will republish automatically, and that means that it will update, and after some time, according to what you set up over here, refresh cached data once every hour or once every day, the data will be updated. So what I'm going to do is paste now our URL, which is supposed to be here, and now you realize that we have our table and it's having the new row that has been added from a person, for a person called Hamza, and that date and that amount. You realize we don't have a total sum over here because that is what we set up in here in our table. Then now we can do the rest of the styling just like for the other tables. I can add a rounded border over here. I can make changes to our row columns and all that information. So over here I'll come, select this, come to our style, and for the header we're going to make the text to be white. So the background for our header is actually going to be a transparent background. That is for the odd, and also we're going to do the same for the even. Text color is going to turn to white, and then for the background is going to be, a transparent background. Okay, cool, now it looks fine. Then we can also make this table be in a fixed width, so we can come over here to content, display options, and we can say we want it to be fixed to a certain percentage. Let me say it's going to be 55, and there we are. Next we can add our rounded border by coming over here to style. We're going to come to table and we'll add a border radius, this over here, and it's going to be a solid border. I can change that color to our favorite color or the color that we want. We can make some changes to our font color. So by coming over here to the rows, we are going to, text color is going to change to white. It's actually black, yeah. And the same for the even, text color black. Then what I'm going to simply do is update, and we're going to preview how our table looks like. Here is our new table with our data, having a rounded border, having our transparent header, and also the new item that has been added. This doesn't look very nice over here, so we're going to change the color to a gray or something. So I come back here, the background for the even, I'm going to change that to the accent color, something like that. I'll update, and boom, we have our table fixed. We have a better background color for the even row and all the other rows, and the data looks a little bit way better. Anyway, that's how now you can pull data from the Google Sheets that you have. Obviously, you can still add links to this Excel sheet just like I showed you, while using this Excel sheet. In the case whereby you want to make this table responsive, just simply click over here to content, come to display options and say make responsive. That means that it will add a horizontal scroll bar once someone is viewing it on a mobile device. And also you can add a search bar over there, and you can still make changes to the placeholder text in there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am so happy I could finally have it delivered on the channel because it has been a long time coming. From the very first 2 table tutorials that I created on the channel, I realized that a couple of questions came up often, like how to add hyperlinks in your table data, and also like using images or even lottie animations. And in this tutorial, I'm happy to have covered that. Now, in case you have any questions or comments about this tutorial or any other on the channel, please let me know down in the comment box below. And if you're new to the channel, please again don't forget to subscribe here. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a like because that actually helps me out. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video, and goodbye.